coexist in a harmonized way, so that we're not all out here just shooting and killing and doing all types of crazy shit to each other, right? But there's no such thing as quote unquote human rights. So, and human rights doesn't necessarily have to coincide with systems that are in place, such as capitalism, whatever, et cetera, et cetera. It does, but it doesn't have to. A system doesn't have to have those things in order for it to exist. We see that happen in most systems, right? Fuck, I lost my train of thought.
No, you're right.
No, it was something that Chris has said that I wanted to address, right? But I agree with Concrete, even though Concrete has this thing where you feel like he needs to teach me things that I already know as a grown-ass woman. But I agree with Concrete as it pertains to nature versus nurture, right? And I think that's being, kind of misappropriated in this conversation with Chris. Respectfully, Chris, I get what you're saying, that yes, we need connection. We need to have, this, that, and third. I think two things can be right at the same time. We can have that connection, right, while also having a transactional relationship with other people. And the last point I wanted to say, because somebody said, well, why does it have to be we treat everybody like our nana? Again, who says that we have to?
I think it's important.
Wait. Can I just land? Yeah, let me just land. So again, we don't have to do anything. I think we all participate in a social society where it is kind to try to treat people like not. Why every time I talk, people, Concrete, can you fucking mute so I can land? Anyway, I think that it is socially acceptable and for everybody to exist without killing each other, to treat people like our quote-unquote nana. But it doesn't. We don't have to. And it goes back to the human nature of humans, where, again, we are evil. We are sinister. We can be archaic. We can be fucking savages, right? So that's why you don't treat Concrete like nana. Because Concrete will booty clap on your ass and do something crazy that Nana may not do. And that's the reality that we live in. So you have to... Oh, that was the one point. Sorry. We all innately have prejudices. We are innately discriminative towards each other. Because we are humans, it is I forget what it's called, when you subconsciously kind of scan people so that you're trying to lower your fear, or whatever it's called. Like it's a protective mechanism. That's why we're prejudiced. That's why we're discriminative. That's why when a woman walking at night about to go home and she sees somebody with a hoodie on, she immediately gets scared. Immediately, it's innate for that to be a thing, right? Now somebody can say, "Oh, well, that's racial profiling." Blah, 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 blah. Again, you can call it what you want, but everybody, including Black people, all people, kids, babies, even animals, we all have that innate prejudice and discriminatory things. So that's why you don't treat people like nana. And I'll land there.
All right, we're on Brad.
The differences between human nature and human condition.
Thank you, Concrete.
So Chris, you keep going back to this connectivity thing. I'm going to tell you again, there is no connectivity. We are tribal by nature for a collectiveness purpose. We have these tangibles to go through. Like, for instance, we want to have food. We want to eat. We want to have power. Throughout history, even going back to hunter-gatherer societies, you have a misrepresentation of history. Hunter-gatherers actually destroyed each other. They invaded territories. They would kill the women.
Each other, yes.
they would kill each other. They would kill the men. They would rape the women and kill the offspring from the prior men so that their offspring could go on. You seem to leave out these little points where everybody was treated like, Nana, hold on a moment. Coda, come here. Come on, this way. Leave them alone. So you have these whole idea of like what society was. These individuals would also possibly dine on each other, which occurred across the globe. These hunter-gatherer societies would often go by a class system. Who would eat? The leadership who describe decision. There was definitely a hierarchy. We can tell this through archaeology. archaeologist exhumation or whatever the fuck it is. They dug it up. They found where there's tribal elders. We're aware of these dynamics. There's always a power dynamic. And what it seems to me that you're preaching is not something that's based on any kind of real human behavior. And I'm no psychologist or psychiatrist, but I even myself, Concrete, others, they can Google this shit up. And even what you're spewing is not even remotely in the ballpark. You're not understanding that we don't live in a capitalist society. We really don't. I mean, if you got down to it, we have parts that do, just like we have parts that do socialist, etc. And you don't even understand our own economic society in which you're profiting from because, quite frankly, you're an author. So you sell books. You get some capitalist reproach. But if you don't sell a single book, you can go to the U.S. government and say, I need food, I need housing, and I need clothes, and all of which will be provided for you at the taxpayer cents, at the collective, at your connectivity. So you don't even understand the economic system in which you exist in and understand how easy it is for you because of the masses of people that actually function to make society. We have a prime case in point here. You were deemed unessential for society to function. The people that were deemed essential were put to work during the pandemic. The rest of you were put in your homes and told to sit there, and you pontificated and lamented the fate of the world at your hands while beating each other up for fucking diapers in a parking lot while a fucking Walmart worker who's making $15 an hour was sitting there going, well, this is retarded, and filming you and putting you on TikTok to show how stupid you fucking were. That's really the fate of the world. And then that Walmart worker went back to work every day through that entire pandemic while you sat there and told people they were an existential threat to democracy because they couldn't have any kind of connection to reality. You needed your fate saved. This is a type of bullshit. This is a type of rhetoric that I often hear on the left, and I don't even hear it from liberals. I hear it from these progressive weird people that think somehow magically shit gets done in society and built up because you don't have a function and you don't serve a purpose. And as far as the trials and tribulations, every single person on this planet has suffered trials and tribulations. What would slit your wrist or my wrist is irrelevant. I have seen the horrors of mankind. I've seen humanity at its worst. I've watched a fucking man kill children. I've watched a woman kill children. And you have no idea what I've seen, nor do I care what you've seen or what I care to tell you what I've seen. However, the point is like your individual struggles and saying that it would slit my wrist. Dude, no. If that's the pain you're going through and that's why you want a utopia, then buy a dog, get a goldfish, buy a fern, and go see a doctor. I don't know what to tell you, but either suck it up, Buttercup, because guess what? Life is not fair. It's a fucking ride, and you either have to hang in there for the span, or you can get bucked the fuck off, and you can cry about it in the dirt. And you have two options here. And I don't know what to tell you, but it sounds like you're on the whining side, and you're just saying, why can't I just have this for the least amount of effort? Why do I have to put forth any kind of viability? Why do I have to prove myself? Why do I have to stand up? Why do I have to take risk? And why do I have to challenge everything and then prove myself? It just seems
that's so interesting, Brad. That's exactly what you're saying. Why do I have to change? Why do I have to stand up? Why do I have to be different?
Like the point
because
you did right now.
Everything that I'm saying is like
cut off, and you got it. You wanted that respect, and then you had no problem cutting me off, didn't you, Chris? You wanted it one way. You just wanted it. You proved. Go ahead. Your little soft voice and your soft fingers, how much more you need.
See,
it's hard arguing with Brad.
Patient of like talking about how somebody talks and their voice and all that stuff like that, like all this stuff that's just totally irrelevant to the point. It shows and tells just how people have a preference for like who and the way that people present things versus how or whether they actually entail value or not, right?
I did that on purpose.
Like you have
you focus on that instead of the overall context of the argument. When you told me I would slit my wrist, I didn't focus on that first. That wasn't my primary goal. I threw it in at the end. You were so butthurt, your ego was so fragile, and your points are so hollow that you had to address that first. That's why I threw it in.
No. That's the thing, Brad. I think it's
things, but let him finish because he's the lone person on his like who's holding his position. You know what I'm saying? So just like kind of just. You know,
all right, I'll
it's
dial
like
right
10v1.
No, I think the soft hands are relevant to Brad's point.
Samoa, he said, "Let me finish," and then you started up.
I thought
Right.
you said Samoa. Oh, my bad.
But Nathan has soft hands.
That's the point. An artist
I
has
think-
soft hands because they use brushes to do all the work.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of, like, I guess, opinion of as far as what we can consider to be hollow or vacuous, right? Like what just is just totally devoid of value, right? Because you think that some of the things that I'm highlighting don't matter. You think that these things are devoid of value. You think that rest isn't work. You think that reflection isn't work. You think that breaking cycles and protecting your mental health is useless, void, right? You think that showing up for yourself when everything else is falling apart, you think that's worthless, right? But that's work. That's actually how we make sure that we don't perpetuate trauma and project onto other people the things that we haven't set the time to reflect to, because maybe for one reason or another we've been conditioned away from reflecting on those things, or maybe we've just been trained to think that productivity is the only proof of purpose. But sometimes the real work is invisible, and sometimes it is unlearning things. Sometimes it is healing. Sometimes it's not just performing just to be seen as valuable, right? So no, I wasn't off. All right. I appreciate the conversation, guys. I do. I'm gonna.
I just want to point out in every one of your examples,
Don't
it's all
leave.
reactional.
Put in the work. See?
Yeah.
You
Right,
just
because
said
in every
stepping
one-
up. Don't walk away.
In every one of his examples, everything's reactional. Like how you react to this, how you reflect on this, like how you put yourself or prioritize yourself after everything has been destroyed or everything's in like confused, in a confused state. Everything is reactional, and I'll let everybody speak for themselves, but I think there's more to that.
You want people to be more affirmative. You know? You want people to be on the defensive.
The word is reactionary.
It appears reactional, but like it's literally.
Excuse me, erection. Pause.
Remember that?
It would be better stated that it's reflectional, right? Like it.
But isn't that
it's a reflection.
relative? Isn't it relative to anybody, including the
It
stress?
is.
Okay,
but
so
it's,
like,
hold on.
you're just saying eat food and you'll be healthy, but like, it's not specific to anyone's conditions. You're not saying anything like within depth. It's like all surface shit, right? Stress is relative to the individual. Resilience is relative to the individual. The coping mechanisms, which you're trying to talk about, is relative to the individual, right? So all of this is just saying, hey, if something's difficult, stand up to it the way you would. But here's the thing. If you don't agree with someone's coping mechanism, like it could be me, where I'm like, fuck, that's just the way, like, it makes me feel good. You'd be like, hey, you shouldn't be that way because, you have to break the cycle of fuck. It's like, bro, get the fuck out of here, man.
Is he pointing out there's other ways than just saying?
Uh,
I don't know what he's pointing out. If you're saying it's relative, then that's,
He's saying
well, then what are you
sleep.
asking?
So Chris, again, two things can be true at the same time, right? I don't think what you contributed to your aspect of the conversation should be totally dismissed, right? But I think the way that you're adding it to this conversation, it should be swapped for what myself, Brad, and Concrete is bringing to the conversation, which is why there's friction between both sides, because they can coexist. They can coincide where you can be empathetic. You can focus on human connection. You can focus on all of those things, right? But that's not the respectfully answer or the solution, right, to capitalism or whether or not humans are innately transactional, right? Again, those two things can coexist. It's okay for them to coexist. We can, give each other, little flowers and cupcakes when we take your money, right? When you buy a service, like we can say thank you, please have a nice day, right? But again, to say that that's the answer to how capitalism can be, I guess, reformed, for me, I have a problem with that because, again, it doesn't matter what system you put in place. It could be libertarianism, socialism, communism, fucking dictator. It doesn't matter what the system is. The human nature is going to fuck it up regardless. So, yeah, I don't think that saying that this is one big happy family is the end all be all, because we're not one big family.
No,
That's y'all niggas.
right. No, I definitely know that it's not one big happy family, right? And I think like maybe an easy example is something that someone taught me a long time ago when I used to work in the hospital. This guy told me in music that the rest is what has value. It's what distinguishes the beats. And when I think about this conversation, I hear Brad is like talking about the beats, like the most prominent things. You know, when you hear like he's talking about that part. He's not talking about the space in between those, but that's actually what, like, that's what actually is like distinguishes the beats themselves.
Yeah,
the rest is what gives the rhythm. Hold on. Well, maybe, but the rest still gives the rhythm the meaning, and without it, everything else is noise. So we've been conditioned to think that only the loud parts count. That the grind, the hustle, the visible output, but the real work also includes stillness. It includes healing. It includes listening to what you've never had time to hear before. Right? That's how I learned how to harmonize as a singer. I had to I never thought there was notes there, but I had to sit with them and figure that out. And I was like, oh snap! Like, okay, I can start to hear the other note that I'm supposed to sing. It's a very faint and subtle dissonance that's like occurring in a space where there's an opportunity, but it takes time sitting with that to learn how to harmonize. So no, I wasn't like inactive. I was in the pocket. I'm doing the work that the world doesn't always applaud, but the soul always needs. That's why I'm a filmmaker. That's why I'm an artist, right?
Hey, Chris,
people don't understand how it works.
You have
it's
one
about connection.
amazing
It's not about
another. I love them.
Yeah, so
Hey, can we educate Mike? Hand Mike the definitions inside of the chat. There you go.
Okay, so real quick before I go to Samoa, first off, the idea that you get to hear music is based on the premise that somebody else did all the work for you. Somebody had to create music, and somebody had to create the space in which you could play the music, the safety, the village. That meant all the other chores were done. So once again, you are benefiting from a place that everybody else had did the work. So you don't get it.
Yeah, I think that
and I let me stop.
Gotcha.
I gotta get you back. I'm telling you.
So like reactional is a word. I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew that Mike.
Oh, it is. You were just using it wrong.
It's an adjective, right?
Reactionary is a better word for that.
Oh, a better word, but not the only word.
No, erection is a good word too. You don't just use them in your
face. Shucks, he got caught. Yeah, so the term is to describe somebody's, or a circumstance or somebody's behavior.
It's really, you're going over definitions now?
Oh, sorry. Sorry, but hey, man.
Silence is golden.
Semantic word. I want to respond.
No, this is not a semantic word. This is just that if you knew.
It's literally a semantic word.
Yeah, like,
if you knew better, you do better, dog.
I heard that gullible is not in the dictionary.
I wanted to respond to Chris.
What was the word? Oh, look at the other guy.
Gullible.
Okay, so again, you talked about healing, right? Like, people don't need to heal to start a business. People don't need to heal to participate in capitalism. People don't need to heal to do transactions, Chris. Again, no one is taken away from the emotional or what makes us human aspect of the conversation, right? But once again, for the third time, it doesn't have to exist in capitalism. In fact, it can be a disadvantage to put it inside capitalism in some, depending on where how you participate in it, right? But again, it doesn't have to exist. We can still have respect for one another. You know what I'm saying? But again, it doesn't have to exist. And I think they're making an argument that it has to exist in order for it to be better, when it really doesn't.
I think it's important to note that Adrian Dedman is in the audience, and this is someone who is known to record rooms.
Elon Musk.
So,
I mean, Nathan also is.
Is that Beamer's new name? Oh, that's crazy.
hilarious. Yeah,
And
the
funny,
person,
this Adrian Dittman got the attention of the real Adrian Dittman, and that was a funny conversation.
yeah, but the guy Doge in the audience, he's a room recorder, so do what you.
Do you believe that, Dr. Australia? People are threatened by me because they're so stupid. That's essentially what happens, is they don't want their stupidity exposed. So welcome everybody to Brain Rot Stupid Hypnosis, or what I like to call Extreme Stupid Super Hypnosis, or otherwise known as Super Stupid Hypnosis. That's essentially what the Chillism Room is. It's a collective of very low IQ stupid people who sit there and practice their words and hypnotize each other all day long. And now we got people popping in and out of my rooms to see, just exactly the power of Adrian Dittman and what he was doing right there. I give you another amazing room.
So he wasn't asking you to be heard. So
I just wonder what it sounds like.
well, there's a bar in it. For example, there's a bar in the song that goes, "A black man will spin the block for his ops while wearing Timberlands, but he won't spin one single block to go get Mr. Zimmerman. You bitch ass hoe."
Shit.
That fucking
That was crazy.
No.
bitch ass.
That was like a Jay-Z racist bar, bro.
Zimmerman is not fucking white.
Okay, back to Chillism. Here we go.
Or is to Louis. So
Why would you do that?
Actually, what Mufalor is?
Yeah.
Because I was talking to him about it in the chat, and I think it got lost. So I wanted to explain what it was. It's nothing terrible.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, it's just a coffee drink. It has the coffee grounds are like a sludge.
So Nathan says, let's get back to the conversation. And your thought is, let me talk about whatever this ethnic food is. Okay.
Well, yeah, who doesn't
Go ahead.
like
Go ahead.
food? Fine then. I'll just tell Louis about it later.
Did Nathan even know what the conversation was about, or did he just hear me adding to the conversation and wanted to be a dickhead and say, can we get back to the conversation?
I heard you guys talking about transactional relationships.
No.
That's not the conversation, sir.
That whatever it is, but
Not really. So the conversation
Don't gaslight Nathan, bro.
It was initially a conversation about capitalism, and I guess Chris was saying capitalism is this system where your value, inherently evil. Your value is what's how much you can contribute.
You just heard me talking and said, come on, let's move on to the conversation.
No, when he brought up transactional relationships, that is pertinent to the conversation.
But I'm talking about the intentionality of Nathan cutting off the conversation that we already
was
had.
just being an asshole. Nathan was
I thought he was cutting
you
off
were being
the
an
part.
asshole, Nathan.
No, I thought he was cutting off the part where you
Samoa,
was like,
get his dick out your
I
mouth,
heard you,
bro.
Concrete. You said you love me, or something like that.
That was Concrete being Concrete. We
Yeah,
actually
but I'm cutting that off to go back to.
But I think that was a branch off of this thing, because we were making the point that transactions are being transactional is inherently human, and it's a natural thing, and it's not.
We were talking about transactional.
I didn't say we weren't.
Right, and we're because
I was wrong.
I think Chris was trying to.
What I heard was
Okay.
No.
Who wasn't here Freemason. Tell us what it was, but go ahead.
No, I wasn't telling you what it was. I'm telling you what I heard you guys were talking about.
Yeah, because you just got here 2 minutes ago.
I said that. And I said that you guys aren't talking about the topic which y'all was initially
That's not what you said.
Oh, I want to just kick you out of the room. Listen, I don't need your attention. Okay, you don't care. Bye.
Yeah, we're being recorded, by the way.
Hey, I don't understand why what Nate said was, go back to the part where you guys were talking about transactional relationships. And everybody said, no, that's not what we were talking about. And then, but that's the part that he's talking about, right? Instead of the.
And also,
They kicked me again. We're being recorded.
No, this is, going to war in Iraq. This is, many years of PTSD. This is like reality. I'm never gonna hurt myself. I believe I was made in the image of God, and I would never hurt the image of God. So I would never hurt myself. And somebody else told me, I want to be a part of your game. Like, I want to feel like I'm being controlled by puppet masters. I'm like, nah, you can't pay. You didn't mute them.
Wait, but weren't they calling specific individual black people smooth brains, not black people as a
And
whole?
Sam, do you really feel like with that voice you will be intimidating in person?
Well, I'm a 6'1" guy. I'm a pretty big guy, so I'm not too afraid of people.
Lonzo's a real tough guy.
Sound like you that tall at all. But
Lonzo's a real tough guy. He's a Jew-hating Dominican Republican dirty dog. Look at that ugly face. Rat face. Fucking pube hairs. Just go straight into the attack. Don't even wait. Just get your punches in and get kicked. That's what I like to say. Fuck 'em all. Fuck 'em all.
Ну да, не попадаем, не совпадаем мы по времени. Мы открываемся день ближе к 9, там, 8:30.
У меня еще получается то, что я рано просыпаюсь, я успеваю с американцами поговорить. Ну, не в Клабхаусе, а в плане по работе, с кем надо. Типа 4 утра, там вечер.
You were a perfect child. My kid could do it.
Brian, can you stop, man? Can you honestly stop? I just asked an honest question to the room.
Smoke, and somebody responds, and then you interrupt, and then cry about being interrupted.
I was just asking, can you answer the question? I've had people do that to me and tell me I'm not answering the question.
So again, I'm going to keep going. So again, you're the soft pan type. You have it. No calluses. I bet you all of your fingernails look fucking perfect. There's not even a scuff on them. I bet you they haven't even seen dirt underneath those nails. So the overall is humans are not connected. We're tribal. We will group for purpose, idealism, or need, necessity, but we are not connected. The fact that you can observe currently that people try to retreat and they have wariness about connecting with, I don't know, progressive utopian people like you is not because they don't want to have a mutual, afternoon cup of joe with you and say, hey, here you go. That was a really nice talk. I'm glad I figured out that you really are going to contribute to society. No, instead, where they're retreating from is they just don't want to be in danger. It is a natural response.
Damn, they kicked that account too. That's 3 for 3, right? It's a lot of work that they're doing to prevent themselves from being recorded while they talk about nothing.
When you say the word hoe, never mind.
Yeah.
Get that bread, get that head, delete.
That's a prostitute right there. I know.
I don't give a fuck with y'all.
That's a two.
Is that some great thing?
No, it's what that's the relief for the bust on the Arch of Titus. That Emperor Titus had built, I guess, commemorating his destruction of Jerusalem. That's what they built. I think it's in Rome. It's on the arch. But actually that menorah was used, that image is used like in the Israeli menorah. They copied it because it's so good.
Well, we just added an extra one. Because it's a Hanukkah versus a menorah. Yeah, because, so many things are different in, Israel versus America, for Judaism. It's interesting.
Yeah.
And, I guess one of them is, Passover being, 2 days here, and it's, 1 day in Israel. And it has to do with the moon, I think, is the most important part, so I don't know why they bother with the second day.
Super Stupid Hypnos World Premiere 2025.
That's right. Welcome to Super Stupid Hypnosis as I live stream other clown house rooms exposing super stupid people.
You're getting really famous. A lot of followers. I'm proud of you.
Thanks. It's
On
been
positions in Islam got muted.
it's been a life goal of mine to expose stupidity and how people waste their time. This app is the perfect opportunity to expose stupidity and how people waste their time. It's a
I
great.
am top of the list of stupidity, wasting time. And I've come to terms with the caveat emptor, whatever. What's with the PT Loser in your picture? I used to love that car, though. It was, like, so cool when it came out.
Yeah, it's my new rap. I like it. PT Loser.
I like them, though.
Do you really? Wow.
I wanted the wood-paneled one.
That's like such a grandma car.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Super Stupid Hypnosis, where a bunch of clown house people think that somebody named Tanner 2028 is running for president. Ain't nobody. They kicked me. It was a quick one. Have you seen the Tanner 2028 room where a bunch of black people update their PTR?
Yeah,
Some imaginary person named Tanner. It's like the stupidest room in the world. But every room is stupid. I'm trying to find you the greatest and the best of stupidity. Let's see what we can find. Chillism really takes the cake. I don't have any other accounts. Well, I have one more account. Let's get back into Chillism and root out the source of the stupidity. Here we go. Oh, Dr. John wants to say something. Welcome to Super Stupid Hypnosis.
I've been hypnotized.
Well, you're a self-hypnotizing hypnotist.
We still utilize slavery. We're not doing it in our backyard, so we feel good about it. But we are most assuredly, every time you put on a pair of Nikes, you have a 13-year-old. The average worker for Nike that makes your shoe is 13 fucking years old and they earn 10 cents a day. You tell me that you don't believe in slavery.
Businesses back to America, baby. Bringing those businesses back to America. Even Brad acknowledged that slavery still exists.
Hold up, no, Chris, wait a minute. What you put in the chat is next level. Like you're accusing somebody, and trust me, I would toe to toe with him. He could be a bit of an ass, but that's reaching, okay, Chris? What you just put in the chat is that's accusing somebody of something that he's not even talking. If anything, it's saying the
Okay, girl. We usually leave the chat in the chat. It sometimes helps if you turn those previews off. People were.
No, I'm sitting here participating in the chat and the room.
Yeah.
In the chat are related.
The chat is in the chat. No, people were talking.
Okay, you're not. I mean, we can just perpetuate the argument.
Oh my God! Somebody killed me.
Hey, Brad. Just so you know, you want black people to be slaves.
No, I think honestly, all Americans, especially those that claim that I would want slavery back, I think you're okay with slavery because, quite frankly, you exploit it, you champion it. You're like, I want LeBron James to be the centerpiece, and he's one that calls out. He puts his fist in the air. He wears a T-shirt, talks about black oppression. The same thing, but again, he has a company that believes in child exploitation and slavery. It's not even questionable. It's right there in the open, and everybody goes, yes, LeBron. So, like, if that's you think I want people in slavery when you're actually facilitating it on a global scale? Go ahead, and then you get on stage saying, "Oh, well, we should just have human connection." No. I mean, finish my point, Chris, before you go no with your soft little voice, your soft hand.
Yeah, let's Bradland, and then you can respond directly, Chris.
Because you guys keep jumping in, and I don't really care about your little world utopia view that we need to have connection. Like, it's fucked up that Nike is able to go to another nation and that government for a few fucking coins is willing to enslave its population. That tells me all I need to know about human nature and people that espouse saying, I just want a utopia, but you're willing to exploit others. Your hypocrisy is dripping. The disdain that I have for people like you is enormous. And what I really think is that if a country is willing to give away its people, enslave its people, then they are the problem, and you either have a choice. Either fight or bend the knee and put the widget and the shoelace and the eyelet and whatever you got to do and sew that sneaker up and fucking sell it in America for $400 when you basically paid 10 cents for one kid to fucking make that thing and lose a finger in the process.
I hope they
It's called an anglet, by the way, the little plastic tip.
Thank you, I did not know that.
So,
Aglet.
right. But it was interestingly enough, while Kitty was raising a point that was actually from something that happened yesterday, more so than the point that you were trying to make. Even Brad was saying that slavery never went away. So, I mean, it's not a far reach. When people argue from the way that things are and they get angry at the idea of change, it's often not about what's possible at all. It's about avoiding responsibility. Because, I mean, if you can admit that things can be different, then you have to ask yourself, okay, well, what's my role in keeping things the same? And that's uncomfortable.
Okay,
right?
so
it's easy. Oh my goodness! Oh my gosh! Hold on, hold on.
Spare the fake outrage.
Yeah, we just need fake outrage during your turn. We can go to Kitty next, but
it's fine, man.
It's easy. It's just easier to say that, you know, that's just how the world works, than for us to actually face how you might benefit from it, how you might protect it, how you might stay silent in it. And it's not that change isn't realistic. It's just that responsibility is. It's just that it's just inconvenient. And so this resistance is not about logic. It's about fear. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. So now you got to choose. Do you want to fix it? Or you just want to keep pretending that everything is fine? Because I've heard points that say that everything is not fine. It's just changed. And so you're interested in protecting it? Or do you want to change it? Do you see yourself benefiting from it?
God, you gotta land it, man.
It's almost like some people
I'm with you without being rude to you. Yeah, I'm with you without being rude. Well, or on this crap, like it's all this metaphysic bullshit, like drama stuff, and then you say one thing that actually somebody can get some utilize from it. And I think that because you're going with this whole dramatic thing about it all, no one's hearing what you're saying. Yeah, if you're going to do something about it, you're either a part of the solution or you're a part of the problem. And what Brad is saying is that you do have to feel. You have to be a part of this world. You have to get your hands dirty. It's not about racism. It's about being a human. And you can still, and I think it was Guava that talked about being mutually exclusive. Things aren't necessarily one or the other. They can both actually work in tandem or, at the same time. You can treat others with respect and still have a pursuit of a perfect human. I mean, you just got this weird view of it's almost like that. And I'm sorry to say this is not a personal attack. I'm being just friend to friend here. It sounds like the atypical definition when you hear people talk about a millennial being entitled. You know what I mean? Like get a part of the earth, like world. Like I don't know. I just feel like if it's working for you, stay in cloud nine. As for me and my family and friends, like that's just not reality.
What's the argument about? What's going on? What's the debate about?
Well, Brad thinks that we are not that mad about slavery.
I thought it sounded more like a classic capitalism, communism.
Yes.
You can't get. There's no such thing as a free lunch. You can't get energy out of nothing.
Yes.
So if you expect to eat, it's because you fucking have to go out and hunt.
Yeah, that's what it was about.
Dewey, can I ask you something? Can you show me one prime example outside of the U.S. where socialism has been successful?
Sweden, Finland, the Nordics.
No, those I wouldn't. Those are actually more free market than us. Look, you could say in terms of Sweden and Finland. I actually would disagree. I think by our moral standards, there is certainly not. So the answer, Brad, is no. I would say all governments, all societies have a blend, right? Like even our army, you could say, is nationalized, right? We have a national army, right?
I'm
So
going to speed this up.
You do have to have.
I'm going to put in the chat. This is the dumbest, lowest IQ conversation. No, I'll just write welcome back to another episode of low IQ dumb people making dopamine, wasting time.
Chop down the trees. Someone's got to split the logs. Someone has to light the match. Someone has to get it going. You can find ways that split that work so that everybody feels like involved. But the more complicated the energy input output system is, the more likely you have to rely. The more likely you have to rely on individual incentives.
Thank you, dude.
What up, Billy? I'm following you.
Because human interaction is all part of it. I think, that's sort of like the bigger picture.
It's human interactions, but also the world. The world is not going to give you a fire. You have to make it.
Right, of course. Yeah. But there's even inside of raw capitalism, it's like it's not 100% transactional. There's always people involved in whatever deal and in the deals. So
did you hear Monica?
I think that was
Monica was
when
like
you sort of
whispering
pit
through
against
the chatter.
humanism versus capitalism.
Kick 'em.
It's not
So
black.
as soon as they kick me, I'm going to go to
And
my
you could
other
say
account.
it's a
And my
flaw
other account, I'm just going to keep going in until I have
humanity,
no more
right?
accounts. And then
Like,
I'll end
there's
it.
that classic saying of like, my family,
We're
yeah, inside my
41 minutes
home,
into
we're
stupidity.
socialist. Yeah, like fucking, my kids don't put in the work, right? And then, but the further out you go, the more, I'm not going to feed somebody else's kids, right? I mean, maybe my neighbor, right? But like, if you give me 1,000 kids, I'm not going to be able to, right? Like, at a certain point, I need other people to put in the work, and they have to take care of their own kids, right? So it's like you could say it's a failing of human ability to extend the, love beyond the immediate, right? Although, again, 1,000 kids is like, I can only make so many fires.
Miss
right?
Lopez
And if I
Aguirre.
make a fire, I'm going to make sure that my kids are under that fire.
Miss Lopez, I don't know if you know who Miss Lopez is, but she's this fat piece of shit blob who's been on this app forever. I mean, she's actually somewhat of a nice person. She's, well, maybe not, who knows, but these people really dislike me, which is, what I really like to know is, it's just wonderful, like to be despised, to be hated by people. But really all I try to do is just hold up a mirror. That's all I am. And they just hate it. It's
charity doesn't or can't exist, right? Like I can, help a little here and there, right? But like that assumes an abundance on my part already.
But hold up. There's too many white people, one in accord and in an agreement and talking about politics. So clearly one of us is wanting slavery. Which one is it? Not me. Dag, I'm out.
Not it.
I know. It was in the chat. That's why I was like, what in the world are you saying? You just yell about Brad, Chris, and your thing.
No. I mean, Brandon also said that it never ended while you were coming off mic, right? I recognize that too. It hasn't.
I haven't heard anything about what's happening in China. There are literal children's sweatshops that are no different than slavery.
so I put super stupid hypnosis and how to waste time in the chat.
He's saying,
Wait, I can't hear what Samoa saying. Hold up.
yeah, he's saying, look at Nike. People are wearing the shoes, and they are complicit in this slavery, this modern day slavery. You're wearing the shoes, you're wearing the apparel, you're endorsing the celebrities.
How can he equivocate that with like previous slavery?
Kitty, can you let Samoa land?
Yeah, no.
We're all
I'm gonna say she has ADHD, and I wonder if that's generational.
Samoa is making your point. Samoa is trying to make your point. Let him do it.
Yeah.
No, she doesn't like people mansplaining, so I'm just gonna go on mute.
I love when you mansplain for me, Samoa.
And I also want to point out when I said
you were actually conveying what I was saying. Maybe if they heard it from you, the articulation would be fine.
Yeah, can you
Colin.
mansplain it for us, Samoa?
Yeah.
Sorry, bro. Gotta get the coffee, brother.
So when I'm gonna fucking strangle you.
I love you, Daddy.
When I said we're not that mad about slavery, I succinctly put the last 5 minutes into the 2 to 5 words I use.
Well, who's not then?
Okay, I wrote Sunday sun emoji. Enjoy life. DNA emoji. Instead of wasting your existence here with this stupidity.
Corners of the world where it still functions, and you would not partake in products that utilize those Services.
Kick.
So you must not be that.
Do you think that we are participating in capitalism that enslaves children overseas and these factories that pay people like 25 cents to create things for us? Or can we all make it ourselves? Like, do we all can I make an iPhone in America?
Yes, if it's
You're putting the want for an iPhone over other human experiences.
In America, then they wouldn't
No, you can't.
people in
You
Congo.
can make an iPhone in America. You're just not going to get it for 10 cents.
Tali wants to go get her brunch.
So if a 13-year-old has the technical proficiency to do it, an unskilled labor can push that screen and those little chips into place. Because quite frankly,
You don't actually need. My apologies. You don't actually need an iPhone. You don't. And if you prioritize the human experience over capitalistic sort of wants,
So wise. Such intelligence.
It would be less easy to say that you're.
It would be less easy.
No, Tali, you don't understand.
It would be less easy.
Anytime. When I'm in the
Here we
library,
go. Dr.
when
John
I'm
is
in a
kicking
fast
in.
food joint, I need to be able to have this technology at my hands.
Right,
You
that's
know,
why
Dr. John is
yeah,
an
that's why
exceptionally
Trump's
stupid
allowing you
person.
to pay.
But we love him here because he's an American, but he's stupid.
Because of the fact
That's
that
okay
he
though,
is
because we're
endorsing
filming.
slavery.
Super
That's why slavery
stupid.
tax.
Hypnosis.
The reason why he's given the exception for computers, chips, and cell phones to Apple because he's beholden to the oligarchy class and that he is endorsing slavery. Orange man bad.
Orange man bad. Orange man bad. Orange man bad.
That was cool.
But see, that's the case. Somebody was saying earlier that that all that bad stuff's gone away, right? But I'm seeing even in that trope, okay, just upholding what we agree is a necessary harm. Certain people they're just gonna have to be enslaved in order for us to have what we have, And if that makes us less, if it makes us less. Whoa.
Hey, what kind of phone you got, Chris? Chris, what kind of phone you got?
No, we're talking about concepts. We don't
probably sipping at Starbucks.
No. Shut up. We're not gonna spear anyone on the stage. We're just talking about general concepts. Don't do.
Hey, Tali, I think Stilgar's trying to get.
You're lucky, Chris. You're lucky.
She kind of thinks like
I'll say this, right? Like, do you want to hear the? This is not the.
And myself on stage, but yeah,
This is
that's
this is not the argument for slavery that but what's up?
You just got passed by M2. It just drove right past you. That's great.
M2? Did I cut Incan off? Incan, you want to go, Incan?
Welcome back, Danny, to another exciting episode of Super Stupid Hypnosis!
All these things are interconnected to the point where, for example, this is a slightly different argument, but it'll hopefully make the point. And I'm not sure exactly what the second order consequences would be around, what we're essentially calling slave labor. But people don't like monoculture, for example, monoculture farming, right? I remember one person talking about progress, like, oh, the way we do fertilizer is wrong. And I kind of want to be like, yeah, you could remove that, but you'd probably starve 100 million people within months, right? So yes, the system has problems with it, like mono farming or like inequitable labor relationships, and you could even say slave labor, right? But it's
labor,
also
not even.
Yes,
it is
right. Sure. But it's also
Okay,
like
we're
a
gonna do a
Jenga
hard
tower,
out in
right?
10 minutes. I'm gonna push the chat a little harder. Here we go.
You could end up actually, destroying more than you think. Yes, exactly. The unintended consequences, and look, and I'm not saying that justifies anything or everything. I'm just saying the system, the modern world that we live in is so complex that these things are interrelated in a way that
My chat isn't working.
without causing unintentional harm. The unintentional harm of which you then have to weigh against whatever inequity you were trying to fix.
Yeah, like pulling USAID from people who are living off of it in other countries and kind of like distally causing a genocide.
Are you talking about when COVID was released from China and that caused millions of deaths around the world and nobody's going to blame them?
Trying to cause drama, dude.
No, I'm not trying to cause drama.
Well, it's just
I'm
like a
just saying,
random.
I'm just saying, like, how proximal does like the harm have to be in order for us to be outraged by it? Like, is it just about the visibility of it? Is it the fact that it occurs in our neighborhoods, right? Or
I think proximity. I think proximity is a big thing, and like whether you can like make an impact or not. It's convenient. So for instance, if you were
got like
it's
9
convenient.
different headsets, bro. What's going on with Louis?
Yeah, Louis, what is that? What was that?
It's a matter of convenience. That's what it is. So the moment it begins to inconvenience someone or put a little bit of depth on their privileged or entitled
But
thing,
isn't
that's when it becomes
inconvenience
an
the
issue.
convenience of somebody else? Isn't that what we're talking about?
No, that's not. No.
The convenience of somebody else.
Are you trolling or are you serious?
That's what we're talking about, bro.
Are you talking? No. The inconvenience is not the convenience of someone else. I feel like that's a troll.
For example, total troll. Yeah, I mean, think about it. So a person is an employee, works for an employer, right? People are taking the position that the employee, because of them being an employee, is devalued in this relationship.
I guess when you say that, I think that's talking about like from a business standpoint. I'm thinking more like deforestation.
Oh, you must
right. No,
But that's the same, right? Like deforestation. Without that, again, if you stop deforestation, you're going to have serious problems for other people.
Right, but you're inconveniencing me by destroying my freaking native land in order to convenience. There's no convenience. There's no convenience for me without you deforestifying
and again,
my neighborhood.
I say this without
convenience for me.
Well,
it's a whole inconvenience for your inconvenience.
For you specifically, not again. I want to take Tully's point of not sparing people, but I don't think you live in the forest.
No, I know, but like
I think you are convenienced by the deforestation.
The convenience versus inconvenience argument, right? Just to take us, slow down. Right, you're like someone has to be inconvenienced in order for someone has to.
Okay, I put in the chat. Anyone have anything intelligent to say? Word definition clowns, the Low IQ Hypnosis Club, Brain Rot Association of Stupid Hypnotists, and then Dr. Matt Cool wrote, Doge, you're actually right about this. And then I wrote Dopamine Creation Club for brain rot sufferers.
We're saying somebody has to be inconvenienced, right? To be convinced. So you're saying the natives are
correct. And you're like, you can't have one. You're like, if there was not one, there has to be the other.
Harm and benefits instead of convenience. Harm and benefits.
It's starting to get annoying. Oh my gosh. Let's use another word, please.
Yeah, we're talking about the relationship between two different
counterparties.
Yeah, counterparties, right? One's going to be inconvenienced, the other one's going to be convenienced.
Right. But again, the moment you start to inconvenience someone, that's when these issues become. That's when these issues become highlighted.
I think it also depends on how you define the harm and the benefit, right? Because when you again, like let's just take this native deforestation. Those
I'm looking at that not like employee employer.
Sure, but like and again, it depends on how you rate. We could be super utilitarian about it, right? Like we deforest and it affects 100 native people in their land, but now we can feed 5,000 people, right? And then how do you weigh those? And then also again, it's not a zero sum necessarily, right? Because the people who are harmed also might benefit in ways as well. Right, just like the people who benefit might also be harmed, right? Because it is monoculture and the food. Sure, now you can feed 5,000 people, but now they're 10 pounds overweight. And the people who lost their land, yes, they lost their land, but now they have modern medicine or whatever, right? So like all these, again, this is to the point of all these things are interconnected, and you cannot pull the string without tightening several different knots in other places.
It's like, now we can fly to Mars, but people might not be able to have their social security system.
I wrote Low IQ Brain Rot Word Sufferers, aka the Word Definition Club.
Again, like I said, I sort of am doing it to be pretty blunt about it, right? Like I'm not even trying to say what's right or wrong. I'm just trying to explain.
Like you're saying, because this is like you destroyed my land and fucking pillaged the people, and now I don't have a house and like we were living off the land or whatever. Just hypothetically, we have medicine now, like, and then you guys, we can feed 500 people.
He's
These
not
are like
saying it's a
random.
trade-off. He said,
That's the examples that he gave. It's not always true, though. And I do think it deserves some games, specifically in deforestation.
Okay, I wrote, this low IQ, stupid waste of time convo is being streamed on 10 YouTube and X accounts and 5 clown house rooms. Can it be any more direct? We'll see if they kick.
He said in every.
The funniest thing is I'm doing him such a huge favor, but if they actually kick me, it just shows you how, like, literally, I guess, nihilistic they are.
For example, right? Colonization. We'll just say vaccines. Or if you're one of those vaccine people, or just the way of life today, right? Education, whatever it is. If you say, "Hey, look at those people over there. Look at us now."
Okay, I wrote, if you kick me, you are truly not chill and a collection of nihilists.
Where they are now. You're in a better place. Reservations. No, they're not. Hold on. There is nobody here. Exactly.
So Luhai hates you wrote, this low IQ stupid waste of time convo is being streamed on 10X, 10 YouTube, blah, 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 with a grand total of 20 views.
Right now? The Uyghurs. The Uyghurs. Oh, yeah, the Uyghurs. Would the Native Americans want to go sit aside the Uyghurs?
There is also no reservation that practices the conditions and the policies, or even the tools, even the styles of the 1500s, the 1600s, 1700s, even the 1900s. They are all modern tech. They enjoy clean water. They enjoy filtered water coming through.
Right.
So
They have the ability with technology to see more punani in 30 minutes than a king from the.
I wrote, I'm the only clown implementing capitalism at the moment.
Yeah, but that's
I'm just trying to. It is, but I'm trying to make a point.
Her comment afterwards, like, oh, I like this guy.
This idea that like
why don't they
progress
kick?
can happen without somebody suffering is,
Why won't she kick?
I think, kind of naive. I think the goal is to limit suffering as much as possible. You know, like the phone you're holding came from a Foxconn factory where there's suicide nets on the outside. You know, like the idea here is we should certainly strive for zero suffering. You know, we should strive for the wheels of progress moving without.
We've got the hard out of 2 minutes 40 seconds, but why won't she kick? Why won't she kick?
Should we all be, running around with handmade bamboo slippers and living in the trees and, burying our shit in the ground?
Yeah, but the perception.
So it's like you gotta work to make an omelet.
But the perception of work or just any action could be considered suffering. In any action of work.
So my thing is, you're saying you're doing you got to break a few eggs to make an omelet, but nobody asked for the omelet. You're the one who wants the omelet.
No, everybody asked for the omelet, but just by this is what I started with. If you remember, I said the world will not make you the fire. You have to make the fire, right? The physics of reality means people have to put in energy to get stuff out.
The omelet is MRI machines. The omelet is insulin. The omelet is the wheel. The omelet is the written word. The omelet is libraries and the internet and space travel. And highways, clean water.
Pops, you don't want none of that?
Fair. Maybe. You guys are acting like the omelet doesn't become Zara and fucking Shein and fast fashion and microplastics.
And I even said that there are losses for the winners. Remember, I said you can feed 5,000 people, but they might end up with monoculture food, and so they're 10 pounds overweight. But the question is, would you rather have monoculture food and be 10 pounds overweight, or be a subsistence farmer struggling and losing teeth because you haven't had vitamin C in 3 months?
I wrote, helping the low IQ politician, aka racial ID propagandists at chillism.
Would have killed to die obese or die of old age.
I'm chiming in.
Kind of the truth, though. Damn, you hear that, Dewey? He's in and out of consciousness.
Look. It's not even about. It's not even an argument with one person, right? Yeah, like look, this is a never-ending conversation that humanity always has with itself, right? Of like, hey, because I forget who said it. Of like, the goal is to minimize harm. Yeah, of course, right? Like, except for maybe the occasional psychopath. Most people, it's not that nobody wants to like harm other people, right? But the physics of the world, the like we live in a world where like, you know, ass has to touch grass, right? Like you have to fucking put in work. And once you do that, you realize, oh, I want as much for my effort as possible. Right? The less work I can do and the more I can get, and that's the natural human state of things, because our brains are basically pattern machines. Right? And so we, right. Well, no, again,
we're not dealing with that.
Our brains,
with the world you found.
Exactly. No, we're terraforming because our brains are pattern machines, and we figured out how to get more for less, right? And that's our evolutionary advantage, right? We're not the strongest, right? So we're not going to be able to put as much energy in as a bear, right? Like a physical bear, right? So we have to figure out how to leverage things, right? Give me a fulcrum, and I can move the world. That was from a Greek philosopher. Give me a fulcrum, Archimedes. Thank you very much, right? So all of human evolution is just trying to figure out how to get the right leverage. And you know, now doing that does have sort of like cost benefit analysis, and you know, it's never perfect, right? The goal is to minimize harm, right? But at the same time, the second you apply energy, things are going to move, right? Things are going to happen, and there's going to be unintended consequences. And this is the never-ending conversation with human societies of just like, well, did we do the right thing? Did we do more harm than? Can we minimize it? Can we take care of everybody so that nobody has to work? Which is the dream. It's never going to happen because of just the physical reality. You can't get something for nothing. You have to put in some initial input.
Yo, Chris, when you say it's the exploitation necessary for capitalism,
I wrote, what happened to the brains of these chillists? This is a room about wasting your time.
exploitation is a necessary component of capitalism.
So capitalism that is rooted in like identities that were just created for political purposes is a form of exploitation.
Projection alert! Projection alert!
Just like I guess the other distractions that kind of happen, or
that's not capitalism. And you're just reifying those identities in the pursuit of capitalism. Remember when like Black Lives Matter came out? People were selling Black Lives Matter T-shirts. They just became reified.
Yeah. So what happens is like when you create this racial identity, and then you people build their lives around it. Like their feelings become commodified in it, and then you can sway decisions and stuff like that. Like you can move people the way how you want them to move, like pieces and pawns. But the people within the system, they don't think that they're being used. They think, oh, like no, I'm making my own decisions. Like this is like really who it is that I am, and that's not necessarily the case. So that's where I was like, is that exchange or is that exploitation?
But capitalism doesn't require any kind of racial like. There's nothing about capitalism that capitalism says nothing about race relations, right? Like now, race relations says things about you could argue it's totally separate, right? Like anybody should be able to interact with anybody in a free and exchanging way. But so I think Chris, your critique is more about like. How identity is formed in modern America and the way that leads to exploitation and infighting and things like that. And I think there's a lot of truth to that, but I don't think that's necessarily a statement about capitalism.
Hold on, Chris, because you say a lot of shit, and I don't think you actually research the topic.
Oh my gosh!
This is why you have an entire stage.
Why can't we just have nice things, Brian? Why can't we just have a conversation?
You can't.
It has to be so angry.
Brian, you were getting a little spicy, bud.
Yeah. Can we bring it from like a 10 to
You need
Start saying the correct stuff, and you won't get.
He's threatened by you, Chris.
I'm not threatened by Chris. We definitely.
I put in the chat. It's what all these Afro-Americans do, aka brain rot projection. His critique is a projection, and it's a racial religion.
Pride is just the pit bull sometimes.
No, it's not that. It's just
Everybody's got like a
I'm going to finish my point.
please?
So, like, the idea that somehow capitalism caused the entire racial.
I didn't like how you made my voice so high, Samo. I didn't.
No,
that was Monica.
Definitely Louis.
It was Monica's voice.
Why are you making Louis sound like Monica?
Ooh, that's gross. I don't like that. Louis, after me, will you please pack up Samoa for that kind of insult?
Nobody's ever gonna be able to do that, bro. Come on.
But I mean, like, capitalism doesn't thrive with segregation. It doesn't thrive with
Monica wrote in the chat,
In fact,
his critique is a projection ID / were I a mod, you wouldn't be in here, John Edmund. Monica is beautiful, someone says.
had like a 5-brick bougie class with little to no innovation, little to no progress, and they didn't even hold the vet up, which is why you had to have the 3/5 compromise enacted in order to appease them. You just did not have the capital because they relied so heavily on enslavement.
I wrote, Monica, go to the gym emoji and read a book, you pig emoji.
We have no longer those people to partake in this society.
Is it a
You no longer
projection?
have those individuals to actually blossom.
It is a projection.
and
I gotta
build
take
and
my fat
innovate
ass to
and
the gym.
Contribute to a capitalist society. Instead, they are now a product being sold on the capitalist society, which means it causes more problems and it doesn't balance out. Whereas the
I cannot
North, it
believe
limited
that they
those in
haven't
scope.
kicked me.
It did have slavery, but it
I've
actually
been
made it out
destroying
to
the room in the chat.
much to do with a whole bunch of other shit. But at the end, they were able to dramatically
Participate in
even
the
GDP.
workforce that exploited them.
Yes, well, you can. There was exploitation, but you sold yourself. So that's the choice you have in capitalism. You can go work for these. That's why I don't say like the people that are cheering for slavery are saying
It's not a choice.
but again, Nike's not wrong for going to a country and saying, "Hey, you're going to make your workers at 13 do this for 10 cents." To what was it, an aglet? And put that on a sneaker. Okay, that's that country. It's not my fucking problem. And if that nation and those people are stupid enough, or they're saying, "Hey, you know what? We want this type of society," who am I to stand in their way? Who am I to fight that fight? Who are you to actually go?
I mean, this is to like prostitution, like, and this is the dilemma that like the left has here. Like when they're trying to advocate for freedom of expression, for liberation, and sex workers, they kind of hit to this dilemma where somebody's creating a commodity or a service of their human experience, but then there's this moral conflict that they're going to have here now, because now you're saying that this person is immoral in acting by selling themselves for said thing, right? And this is a symptom, is what people are going to say, of somebody that is damaged.
It's a symptom of a bigger system that's designed to divide and dominate. That's what it's a symptom of.
The individual decision to do sex work?
The moral judgment comes from the right, not from
Yeah,
the
because
left.
if there was no reward, like for the work, right? Like there's an entire industry right now that makes more money than the entire NBA and NFL. It's called OnlyFans.
Yeah, over 1 million women are doing that.
That's a website.
But it's not about the
So let's
website.
break down the centralized part of it. Should the individual people utilize their, their abilities or their value for monetary gain?
Chris, I heard what you said.
remove the
You said something
centralized
about BLM
OnlyFans part of it.
t-shirts, but I can't remember what you
Why,
said.
why couldn't they? Why would that ever be a bad
Hold on, wait. Well, you can add your opinion. I want to know about Chris.
Sorry.
If an independent person wanted to, if they wanted to provide a service for compensation because they're liberated and they have an independent view of the world and they're not going to be locked into these constraints.
They want to sell their art. Let's just say they want to sell their art.
Yeah, they want to sell their art in multiple ways, in every facet of the imagination. Should they be able to do that?
My friend literally does it for anything.
Show me that butthole art. Yeah.
So we're calling it art. Okay, so that's the
No, we're not calling it art. We're talking about actual art. Start with actual art. Start with actual art. No, yeah.
Okay,
So are they allowed to?
Okay, so what am I answering the question on OnlyFans or on art?
No. Okay, no, stop trolling, Chris. Here, I'll make it this simple.
Nobody's trolling.
Take it down a notch, sister. Focus.
Yeah, let's land.
Let's ask
Somebody said my questions
So we're going to
are,
remove the
or my
centralized
comments
OnlyFans or
are disturbing. I wrote, my comments disturb. This room is a collection of severely disturbed and brain-rotted
to
clowns.
make a decision on valuing in a transactional relationship
I hope they
their
kick soon.
service
We're
or
an hour and
their
9 minutes into this
commodity.
hypnosis
Being
session.
themselves.
Jesus didn't have a problem with Mary Magdalene, so probably yes.
All right, but Jesus isn't Chris, unless you know something we don't know. Erection. Pause.
Could be.
See, look at that blasphemy. Go ahead, Chris.
Second coming.
So, I mean, look, choice matters, right? But it's also what shapes that choice. Because if someone is just choosing
Choice matters.
prostitution out of survival,
Everything, which is true,
or
is
lack
the
of
exact
opportunity or
opposite of what
trauma or
people say on
systemic
here, which is
inequality,
amazing.
then
If you were to make a collection of what people say and then invert it, you would always get to the truth.
Are you free to not eat?
What, am I free to speak right now?
Yes.
That's a good question.
Ultimately, it comes down to that.
Because, you know, is it at the least is it just the least
Technically,
harmful option?
wokeism is technically Karen hypnosis. That's what it
Gave
is.
them no good one. So just saying it's their choice. I mean,
What's ironic is chillism shouldn't be called chillism. It should be called wokeism.
Sometimes it's just a way
It's really what the real name of chillism is wokeism.
Now, no one has a choice.
Stop cutting me off. Like, you just make it so, like, does anybody not recognize that? Like, the hypocrisy?
Yeah, I recognize it, bro. Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, just let me finish my point.
Yeah, you're
Yeah. So what you're witnessing is Chris being a centerpiece, which is well deserved. He is here in this slightly right-leaning room every fucking day, voluntarily, to be to confront the oppositional
projection alert
that you guys make against the ideologies that he subscribes to. Now, treat our centerpiece nice. You don't want to knock it off the table. Don't frustrate the centerpiece. Hold off.
I respect that.
Projection alert
to everyone, like a detriment to everyone. What if it's saying things that would put others down? Like the majority.
Well, I know we're not in the house right now, but speaking of the house, if you're not part of the house, go ahead and click the link up top. But it does say leave your feelings at that door. It says that right there on the house. Right there. Somebody spray painted it. Somebody spray painted it on the house, sister. Okay, anyway, go ahead.
Thank you. So, I mean, like, you know, let's just be real, right? No one grew up.
Let's be fake. I'll just give you the live play-by-play opposite.
Decisions, right? Most people don't choose prostitution out of freedom. Okay, they choose it because the system failed them. They couldn't figure out any other way to get by, make money, or what people validated about them, because poverty or trauma and a lack of options just, I guess, kind of cornered them in.
Because so, prostitution is you actually fucking the system because you're not paying taxes on that.
Harm and, I guess, harm. You know what I'm saying? We're just going to call that freedom. That's not really empowerment. I mean, that's just dressing up exploitation to feel better
right
about
to
it.
choose,
you know, saying it's their choice, it just sounds convenient.
These are cultural Marxist.
Well, that was a weird adaptation of the question that was asked. Would you answer his question though? I'm genuinely curious as to like. Because I actually have a friend that makes like it looks like those adult coloring books, but it's art. It's in essence it's art. He makes NFTs off of it. There's cryptocurrency and actual cash. So when it comes to that and being a self-monetized online influencer that could make money and be of his own fruition, not pressured, not because it's like this is what the society has made me do. Just an artist selling his work. Should he or should he not, in a country where we have bolstered free, if we ever actually look at the brass tacks of free market capitalism, could he and should he be allowed to do
someone
that?
is recording this room and putting it on YouTube.
I think that if someone is coming from a place that is
there is a market, right, that allows women to sell themselves, and they don't do it because of necessity. It's actually a movement too. They call it the intellectual woman.
Chris, sometimes it's a good way to hit on me, so we might not be cutting you off.
Yeah, it's a group of intellectual women who felt that. It's a group of intellectual women who felt that hey, it would be cheaper instead of them going out there working. They can just sell their body, and that's what they do. They sell their body, Chris. They're not doing it because they found they were poor or anything like that. They're doing it because they enjoy having sex. They're foolishness out of you.
Okay, Adrian Dittman is recording this room and now monetizing the chillism brain rot sufferers on YouTube. Thank you all.
Why don't you say, you know, if you want to be a sex worker, if you want to have an OnlyFans account, you just be the best, you know,
every parent
sex star that you could ever be.
I raised two daughters. Hold on, Kitty. Like, stop. Jeez. Holy shit. So I raised 2 daughters. I know that's a possibility that my girls, in the back of my head, may do something stupid on the internet, and that'll haunt them forever. Every parent's mirror.
But we're saying it's not
so I'm gonna finish
Brad.
speaking. Oh my gosh! Can you shut up while I finish my point? Do I have to sound like you in order to get that? Because quite frankly, your hypocrisy is fucking dripping. And you're
He's
wanting me,
dripping!
even though I have dialed it back. Because Luke, Holly, and Nathan know I can go a lot harder than I am right now. This is just a mid-erection. This is just a chubby in the morning. So the idea that somehow you think we don't know in the back of our minds as parents that maybe our kids will do something. Maybe they'll commit a crime in which sinks baby. Maybe they'll run somebody over and have to spend their life in jail. All this shit is what a parent thinks about when they're raising their kids. Did I teach them right? Are they going to be safe out there? Are they going to make the right choices? Questions 24/7, 365 and a quarter day a year. It stays with us. Not when you get older, not when you turn 20 or 30. It stays with us until we die. It is a permanent pain that sticks with you over and over and keeps you up in the middle of the night when something stupid pops in your head and you're worried. Now, back to your could she do it? She had a choice. She could go be a fry cook at McDonald's. She could go find anything else. She could deliver newspapers. She could have
Deliver
applied
newspapers,
harder.
Brad.
The reason
What
they
year is
chose
this?
the porn route was because the lucrative money for the ease of work, which seems to be something you have been imposing on all this time, is saying, I just don't want to have to do anything and I want to achieve everything. You've stated that you won't do labor, you don't put dirt under your nail, and you have a soft hand. And you just want to sit there and contemplate. You want to be actual fucking Marx himself, the guy who lived off of another man and just wrote theories out in some fucking fancy home and had everything catered to him until he died in poverty after his golden ticket was punched. So, I mean, your thoughts on this are just really weird, and they aren't based in anything real. They aren't based in anything theoretical, and you don't have any kind of factual stance that even corroborates what you're stating, which is why you have people that are true liberals arguing against you and why you have conservatives arguing against you, because it's this kind of midwit shit that pisses off. And the idea that someone has a choice between doing hard labor or laying on their back, spreading their legs, or showing their, who said it, booty hole on fucking OnlyFans, that's their choice. They have a choice. And the choice was money. They opted for more money.
Showing your hoo-ha.
Hard labor. Your hoo-ha, whatever.
A booty hole was the word.
Yeah, and Chris, lastly, bro, if society was more acceptable of it, it wouldn't be such a negative stigma. Right? So you're saying that, hey, would you allow your kids to do it or some dumb stuff like that? That doesn't speak to the full point of what we're talking about. They're not doing it because they're forced into it. They're doing it because that's their choice. They want to. They found a niche what they're good at. That's what any artist does. And if their niche is selling their bodies, the people are selling their personality, you got to respect them, brother.
Honestly, though, it's a short-term gain for a lot of these people, so they can ruin the rest of their life. They just fucked up their marketability. They're less likely to get married. A lot of men ain't going to want to get involved with that. It's definitely going to fuck up their psyche. Like, it's going to, a lot of these women are destroying their lives so they can make,
Can I just
a few bucks.
Oh, okay, go on.
Yeah, there's a lot of men that.
I'm just saying, man. Like,
there's
it's
a lot
just
of
the
men
truth.
that
It's a
don't
bad.
care about body count, like Pops. Pops doesn't care about your body count.
Oh, okay. Rule 4 is dead. BT dubs. Doctor gets the land, and then I'll go.
I was just trying to say, it's just
there's no rule 4.
No, there's no.
Which one was rule 4?
Oh, that's great.
Rule 4 was never step on the joke, and then people use that to interject. Yeah.
I have a joke. Can I cut the line if I have a joke? No. Damn. All right.
Doctor, did you land?
So knock. Oh,
because I might shake the table.
No, I was just trying to say. I was just trying to say that anybody who thinks it's a good idea to, sell their body on OnlyFans, they're definitely, they are destroying their overall body, in the long run. I think it's going to be a lot harder for them to get married, and that easy money is going to fuck them. They're not going to actually want to go get a real job. When they get older, which comes very fast, they lose their marketability. When they get about 45, 50, drops down, and they're going to really be struggling.
When they're
Then they
45,
can't get a husband, they
50?
can't get a real future.
This
That's
shit's
just
over,
overall
son.
Bad idea.
Bad Baby
Some of
made
them
Bad Baby made $75 million.
Do feet count as
Well, so that person, that's different. Okay, maybe that they can maybe do something with that. But
I actually think this has
majority
gotten
of them
away
don't
from the
do
real
that.
point.
Yeah, so that's what I wanted to say. I
Yeah.
think it's interesting that we went from talking about the ways in which society still utilizes slavery, because we're not that mad about it, directly into sex work, which is often occupied by women. And so there's some connection, at least, to slavery and existing as a woman in our society.
We went from deforestation to OnlyFans.
Yeah, but can I just try because I want to take Chris's point.
With a quick 180
Chris's
there,
Chris's point was.
Paulo is the
I
dumbest.
understand. Chris's what? I'm going to take Chris. Oh, great. Chris's point was, I understand the situation, but because we can imagine a world, and I think it is fair to imagine that world, where this person is being exploited, this person doesn't want to do this, right? They just feel like they're forced to in order to survive. Then I think the way he put it was, this is a person who has to choose between harm and harm, right? And I think that's actually a fair response, but it doesn't.
Come on,
the initial question is, it goes back to this. Imagine this in a state of nature, right? A person is hungry, and in order to survive, they have to hunt. But hunting is hard. They don't want to have to hurt the animal, and their choices are to either harm the animal or they suffer the harm of starving, right? And again, this goes back to my point of, like, humans just have to have intake in order to survive. That's just our biology. That's just the physics of it. The physics of the world is there's no such thing as a free lunch, and you have to put in work to do the free lunch. Do you always want to do the work that you're doing? No, right? But the choice is either suffer the consequences of the universe, and the universe says entropy, therefore you starve to death, or put in work. Now, I'm not saying then that everybody should, do OF, right? That's not the point. The point is, because and OF is higher up the food chain in the sense of, I think most people on there do have have more options to them, right? But even in like some slum third world country where someone truly has no choice but to do that or starve, right? And I feel for that person. I'm not saying I'm not happy about the situation. I'm just recognizing that there is no utopian solution. People have to cut the firewood to make the fire to stay warm. The world is not going to make the fire for.
Unless you live in California.
That's dying. That's the whole point of the start of the conversation.
Exactly, that's the whole point.
My argument is that the people that sit there and advocate for this, like, utopia, that treat everybody like, what was the word, nanny or nana or whatever the fuck it was, they said we need to just treat each other that way, and it doesn't work that way.
No one here has said anything intelligent for 1 hour and 22 minutes.
Food fabricator and an energy fabricator. If energy was free, then yes, that would be absolutely what I would advocate.
Actually, Kitty is probably the only one who got close to saying something intelligent about making money online.
And so somebody has to put in the work, and everything else tumbles out of that person having put in initial work and wanting something for it, right?
But again,
if you want to leverage your time,
I'll go after you. I'm gonna get my point in here. Like, even the clothes on your back, the cars, the homes that you live in, you're not doing it. It comes at somebody taking a resource or, guess what, exploiting another nation or another area in order to garner those. The wood in your home, we don't generally do it from our backyard. We take it from Canada. We take it from South America, and we buy it cheap. We